Thank you. Opposition spokesperson, Andrew.
Good morning, Ms Butler. It's, as always, a pleasure to serve under your chair. And can I commend the honourable member for Newport West, Annis Lewin, for raising this vital issue in the House today, as we approach the most holy period in the Christian calendar, to remind us of the appalling persecution that is taking place against Christians throughout the world. And I'm not going to mention every country. There's so many that have been mentioned today, but it highlights the fact that in today's world it's dangerous to be a Christian in parts of our planet. And we in this country must stand up against that kind of persecution and oppression. And I commend all members that have contributed to this wonderful debate today. But I'd like to particularly draw attention to some of the remarks from my right honourable friend, my member for South Holland and the Deepings. But also I think that was replicated by my honourable friend, the member for East Wiltshire. I look at the crown above the door. There's a cross on that crown. And that tells us that our constitution, our liberties and our freedoms and our British way of life is founded on those Christian values. And whichever political party we represent today, it is vital that we defend those traditions. And so, Ms Butler, we stand here today to discuss what I believe to be a deep moral urgency. This is not an abstract issue. It is about very real suffering of people, men, women and children who are targeted, attacked, imprisoned and even murdered simply for their faith. For centuries, Christians have faced oppression. At home, this persecution has taken new ways of expressing itself, but abroad, it's still very much the same. Murder, state-sanctioned discrimination and violent oppression. Today, around the world, Christians are being oppressed on a staggering scale. Firstly, Ms Butler, in light of the government's efforts to begin the removal of sanctions against Syria and its stated desire to work with the interim government of that country, it is imperative that we ask the Minister today what assurances has the government received that this new approach to Syria will not come at the expense of religious minorities? How will progress be monitored? What can be done to ensure a codified constitution in Syria represents everybody equally, especially Christians? What discussions have the United Kingdom had with our partners in Washington and in Europe to ensure that any future settlement does not come at the expense of these vulnerable communities in Syria? And crucially, what steps is the government taking to support displaced Christian families and to ensure accountability for these reported atrocities that we've been hearing so much about? And on China, in recent months, we have observed what appears to be a growing alignment between the government of the United Kingdom and China, a country where religious oppression has become ever more brazen. The government have announced an audit on UK-China relations. So I ask the Minister, will Christian persecution be a key part of that audit? Have individual cases been raised at the highest levels? For example, the recent arrest of Bishop Shao Zumin in China, who was detained for refusing to pay a fine related to a mass the government of China deemed illegal. How is the government ensuring that its diplomatic efforts with the People's Republic of China include pressing for greater protections for religious minorities and especially, of course, for Christians? And so, having read this year's Open Doors World Watch List report, which many honourable and right honourable members rightly highlighted today, I am sure I speak for all members across this House when I say that while we welcome its publication, its revelations are no less troubling than those of the previous year. So very little progress, sadly, seems to be being made. In South Asia, Christian communities continue to endure grave challenges and under increasing social pressures. In Pakistan, blasphemy laws continue to be disproportionately weaponised against Christians, with widespread reports of abductions, forced conversions and systematic discrimination in day-to-day life. In Bangladesh, rising hostility and subtle everyday forms of persecution, particularly in rural areas, have created an environment of fear and exclusion. So, I ask the Minister, what representations have the government made to these Commonwealth countries? How is British aid being used to safeguard religious minorities and promote genuine freedom of belief? What more can the Commonwealth of Nations as an organisation do to promote religious freedom? And will he use the government's influence to ensure the Commonwealth acts in areas that it can do across Commonwealth nations in this respect? Nigeria, as highlighted by many other members today, another Commonwealth nation, the situation grows more dire by the day. Christian villages are being attacked, churches burned to the ground, priests kidnapped and executed. Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa undermine the rights of anyone who does not subscribe to their extremist ideologies. And so, has the government sought assurances from the Nigerian government on protecting Christian communities, especially in vulnerable regions of that country? And what support is being given to enhance the security and resilience of these communities against such threats? Of course I will.
It's really great, my friend. It may be as blunt as this. We have a lot of influence in Nigeria. So I would go as far as to say no trade, no aid until the government acts on this.
Well, my honourable friend makes an excellent point. We have to get tough with these countries that behave in this way, and we have to uphold the freedoms of these people. That's part of our heritage, and we should ensure that the rest of the world receives our support where minorities are being threatened and persecuted. And so I could go on with examples from countries ravaged by war to those where legislative oppression cloaks persecution in legality. We could all do so. But the suffering of Christians is global and unrelenting, and our response must be equally tireless and resolute. The last government introduced the position of the Prime Minister's envoy on freedom of religion and belief, Fiona Bruce, a wonderful person. We very much miss her. And I am, however, delighted that the current government has renewed that commitment in appointing the Honourable Member for Northumberland. But can the Minister outline what progress has been made since the Honourable Member's appointment? How is the envoy working across all departments and with international partners to protect Christians at risk? And will he enshrine the appointment as something that is a permanent part of the way we do things, so making it law, as Fiona Bruce attempted to do, so that we always have someone that fulfills that very important role? And what more can we do to support and amplify the Honourable Member's position so it delivers meaningful change? So let me be clear, Ms Butler, this is not a partisan issue. This is about standing up for the fundamental right to freedom of religion. It is about defending those who are suffering simply for their faith. We must not remain silent. And let me say this. Britain has a proud history of standing up for the religiously persecuted. We must remember that if we do not defend religious freedom abroad, we weaken it at home. A world in which Christians are persecuted with impunity is a world where faith is no longer safe. Our message today must be clear. We will not stand idly by. We will not allow the persecution of Christians to be ignored any longer. And so I end with the words from the Gospel of St. Matthew, a passage that feels all too relevant today. Behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. You will be hated by all for my name's sake. Let those words remind us of our duty. The question is, what will His Majesty's government do about it to defend the freedom of religion, the rights of Christians, and to prevent and condemn and to stop persecution around the world? Thank you.
Thank you.